But first, I spoke with Charlotte Williams from the Unity Group about the upcoming MLK Day and how you can take part in the events.
So let's talk about, first of all, starting off, this is the 52nd year for MLK Day activities in our community. Some would say, okay, it's 2022. Why is it still so important that we hold these events and commemorate and celebrate this day?
Because the struggle continues. The injustices that we faced 52 years ago, unfortunately, we're still facing today. And so each generation has to pick up the mantle and move it forward. The events that we're celebrating throughout this week of Dr. ML King will be events that impacts our communities, and it shows how far we have come, but also how far we need to go in order to have equality for everyone.
And let's talk about some of those events. One of them I'm looking at, and I have the schedule right here, is talking about Black Flight, the impact of market-based urban renewal in Chattanooga. Let's talk about that, because when we start talking about communities, that's so important. And when we start talking about this particular issue, tell us about an example of why that's so important and relevant today.
Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. Yeah, we're still seeing that systemic inequality or displacement and segregation and exclusion. We're seeing specifically in Hamilton County in the Chattanooga area that how the housing system undermines wealth building. We know that in communities of color, home ownership are critical tools for wealth building. So when you don't have home ownership, or when you're having this impact of flight, or those that are being displaced, or those that are being excluded from the wealth building, it shows how systemic racism and systemic inequality and the structure of it continues. And so Dr. Ken Chilton will bring us his report on that and how he's been able to document the impact of this market-based urban renewal in Chattanooga.
It goes without saying, we know how important it is when you have a safe and thriving and vibrant community. You see kids do better in school. Parents are doing better. So it's all around better for that community and for all of us as an entire community, which is so important too. Some of the other issues that you're talking about, and we certainly have been following these for a number of cases over the last say year and a half, 2 years during the pandemic, but talking about the court systems and social justice.
Well, again, Caleb will be able to present on that. And Caleb is actually had a court watching system where they developed a court watch project, and it was created and overseen by Caleb, and they sent in monitors into our local courtrooms to observe those proceedings. And the monitors, they will come out with a report that the monitors will provide the community about what they have witnessed, and they will give us an impartial assessment of the local court's operation and advocate for a fair and equitable justice system. So this court watching was very important it's going to give us a black and white detail of how our criminal justice system and how it's impacting our communities. We know that when those that are going into the court systems, how it can have a irreparable effect upon not just the individual, but families that impacted as well. And then that impacts the community as a whole.
Again, when you talk about going into the court systems, if you are poor, if you are in some cases not as educated, you don't have access to high quality legal advice and legal care, and you are at the mercy of the courts a lot of times, it does make a difference. And sometimes, and as you said, and I guess we will see for sure as we look at this report, but the outcome of cases and the sentencing of these cases as well.
Absolutely. We'll be able to see through their report on how persons, as you said, that don't have the representation or don't have the money. You will see also Caleb has created a community bail fund. It's not because people have not been found guilty or not guilty, it's that a lot of times they don't have money to pay their bail. So you're having a lot of people that are incarcerated simply because they're too poor to pay for their bail. Yes. So all of that will come out in our report.
Another issue exactly that to really look at and to dig into. The other thing talking about is that we certainly know this, that we saw this in the last election and we're getting ready for another election. Voting, we know that the John Lewis Voting Rights Act still has not been passed. And chances are very slim that it will get passed this year. We looked at some states are now changing voting laws. Is that a constant struggle? Is that a constant fight, as someone would say, when it comes to what should be simple and easy and the right of every American?
Absolutely. We shouldn't have to fight the same fights that our ancestors fought back in the 60s, during the 1965 Voters' Rights Act. We thought that that included everyone and that everyone would have access to voting, because it's a right that we all have and we all should exercise. But unfortunately, we have so many others that don't agree that everyone should have access to voting. And so the John Lewis Voters' Rights Act is to make those laws, especially that states that have a history of discrimination or a history of having voting right disenfranchisement of people, especially those communities of color, that it will put an equal playing field for everyone. And that's the reason why we're actually having people to be continued political education and to know their rights. And voting is one of those rights, because when you exercise your right to vote, you're exercising your voice. You're saying that I know what is best for me and my community, and not just having other people to do that. So we are hoping that out of their report, that they'll be able to show the measures of those of us that are voting, and why everyone should exercise that right.